Hello. Again, I want to start this because the mayor has a couple more events to go to and was nice enough to include us in his agenda, and thank you very much. For those that don't know about Wayne Apartments, Wayne Apartments was originally a 349-unit development that we had owned since probably 1980-ish. And we did it once under a different type of affordable housing program, and it was past its compliance period of affordability, and we ended up refinancing it with another 20-year HAP contract. The thing that was different about the second time around was the first time around we went to one agency and funded the whole thing at that agency. The times have changed, and right now, in order to do one of these, you may have as many as 5 or 6 different entities in order to make it work financially. So it's a much more complex system. And when we went in for funding on this, the good news that Kate Racer said, because we needed the state in on this also, was that they would fund it. The bad news was they had to fund it in stages because they couldn't fund a project as large as that in one. So this is the third one that we did, Columbia Road, and there was Blue Avenue, there was Franklin Hill Ave, Columbia Road, and we're doing Bicknell now, and the last one, which we have funding for, is Schuyler Street, and that one is scheduled to close in September. So it's been a little of a road, but a good road to travel, and I always say I may have to work twice as hard as someone to get to point A, but as long as I'm at point A, to me, that's fine, no matter how long it takes me. I always quote my father, and that's where I get my perseverance to never give up. And I was saying on the way in that I keep 2 quotes. I keep more than that. People joke about it sometimes, but one of them is never, never give up. Another one is when you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot. And those are 2 that I live by. And Danny's going to do most of the emceeing. I just wanted to welcome everybody and to say how happy I am to see this crowd here, and I appreciate the support that we got from every entity, like I said, that was involved in this. And I also want to take the time out to praise cruise companies' employees who work for us. Again, maybe I talk about my father a little too much, but he always used to say, you're only as good as the people that work for you and with you. And even this event today, with Deborah and the staff at the office, I wouldn't have been able to pull it off as well as it has gone without them. This building wouldn't be here without the development staff of Danny, Armin, Edgar. It wouldn't be here without the construction staff of Mike Duff, who's not here because his job was more important than this, and he couldn't leave the job. So those are the type of people that we're blessed with having for us. So I just want to acknowledge that it's not John Cruz. It's a combination of many people making me look good. So with that, I want to introduce one of them that makes me look good, and I blame stuff on him when it doesn't, is Dan Cruz.
Thank you, John. The thing that John didn't say is when you go in his office, especially if you're trying to get a raise, he always points to these little sayings on the wall, like, you can wait, or he's got them all over the place. So, Yeah, he utilizes them to his advantage. But again, welcome. This is a celebration. This is the type of event that when we first do these deals, we first go into Sheila for financing, that we're thinking about today. The ribbon cutting and the units being occupied. So it's truly a celebration, and we're going to keep it upbeat, and we're going to keep the agenda moving pretty quickly. So there's no, John mentioned the development and what it consists of, and there's a pass out. Anybody wants to read more. But this is just about acknowledgement. And so our first speaker, John and I 4 years ago got a call from Linda Dorsina Ford and said, listen, my friend Marty from, as they say, Dorchester, is running. Because, you know, I'm from Chelsea, Jay Ash is too, and so I didn't get that whole Dorchester thing. I just didn't. Because from Chelsea, it's Dorchester, right? That's what you say. But don't go to a meeting at City Hall and say Dorchester, because right away they say, you don't belong here. So I've learned, Jay, to do that. I don't know if you have. So, but we met with him and found him to be very, very real, very honest. And even though we didn't agree on anything, we had a conversation that was really incredibly open and honest. And that gave us so much respect for him, because up until that time, he was a state rep from Dorchester, and we didn't really know him that well. And so after that meeting, after that conversation, John and I knew that this was a guy of character, and this was a guy who cared. And so we're honored to have him here today. His staff has supported us every inch of the way in this development. And so I'd like to introduce Mayor Marty Walsh.
Thank you, Danny, and I want to thank you and John and the cruise company. John and myself were talking about that very meeting outside before we came in today, and it was a Saturday morning, and I came from a different world when it came from construction, and we talked about opportunities and opening doors, and I think that this administration, my administration, we've done that, and we're going to continue to do that, so thank you. I also want to thank Jay Ash is here, and yesterday we had a very big announcement with the governor in Mattapan talking about 8 projects that the state's going to help fund with us, and we're going to move it forward. In Boston, there's a total of 16 altogether. So thank you, Jay, for your great work as well, and the governor for his support. Danny talked about Sheila Dillon. You know, we're blessed in the city of Boston to have Sheila Dillon working for us and working with us. We've been able to do so much, and that's because of Sheila and her team. So thank you, Sheila Dillon, and your team for everything that you do. You're incredible, so thank you for that. Christine O'Keefe, thank you as well. To the residents here, welcome and congratulations, and thank you. And all of the above, and I'll talk about you in a minute. City Councilor Tito Jackson, thank you as well, Councilor. Tito is my friend, we're friends, and it's great to see you here today, so thank you for being here with us, being here with the Cruz family and the folks here. It's a pleasure always to celebrate the completion of a renovation, but a renovation like this means even more. There's a lot of history here in these 83 homes. They're communities with a lot of heart, and I think that that's what really makes today special in a lot of different ways. Preserving and improving them will have a major benefits here in Mattapan, but certainly in Dorchester, or if you're from Chelsea, Dorchester, and Roxbury. You know, we just go right over those R's. There's no R's. We don't need them. But in this particular project, the city of Boston was able to step up with the help of as I said, the city council, Tito and the councilors, myself, and D&D, $900,000 investment in this project. And a project like this takes a lot of partners, as John Cruz talked about. You need them. Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, Mass Development, thank you. Eastern Bank, thank you. Cambridge Trust, thank you. Members of the community, thank you. And anyone I missed, I didn't mean to, but you'll get caught here today. All of these units are affordable. They are the kind of homes that working families in Mattapan, Dorchester, and Roxbury are calling for, and that we have to continue to do and build more of. This project goes even further than that. We worked with the community every single step of the way, and that's something that's important for us to do. The restoration of 7 buildings created 258 jobs. People often talk about construction jobs as temporary jobs. If you work in the construction field, a job is not temporary. It's that particular day. There's always an end, but there's always a new day. But also in this project, really what was incredible is that 80% of the workers are people of color. And that's an important number there. And nearly 2/3 of the people that worked in this project were Boston residents. Again, another great number. Our BRJP numbers right now, by the way, are 51% Boston residents, 40% people of color, and 12% women. And if you can notice, what they've done in this job is 65% Boston residents, 80% people of color. I'm not sure the women's staff, but I'm sure that it probably did more than 12%. So I want to thank you for that as well. These new homes are energy efficient, they have new safety features, and I'm proud of all of our partners, the commitment to quality and safety throughout the entire project, so thank you. The one thing I'm going to end in a minute here, I just want to say a couple quick things. This is a glimpse, what happened here today is a glimpse about the future of our city and what we have to do as far as creating more affordable housing. That's what we're seeing here today, and we have to do it all over the city, citywide. We launched a housing plan in October of 2014 to create 53,000 units of new housing by the year 2030 across all income levels. We're way ahead of schedule on that plan. We have 25,000 additional units either under construction, permitting, in the pipeline moving forward. But we have to, I keep saying, people say, well, we don't have the housing to support the demand today. When you think about Boston, over the last 3.5 years, we've created almost 8,700 units of housing, low income, which is 0, to middle moderate income, anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000 per family. We've created 8,700 units. Some of them, the Cruz family has done this. Cruz Construction has done it for us. We have 30,000 new people living in the city of Boston. So the demand that we have on our housing is even more than it was 3 years ago. And we have to continue to try and stay ahead of that, because what's happening is people in our neighborhoods that live in 3 families and 2 families around the neighborhood are being forced to leave those places because people are buying those and converting those into condos and other things. So we're committed in the city, with our partners in the state, with our partners in the public sector, such as the cruise companies, to continue to push to build more and more housing we can in our neighborhood. So again, it's important for us to talk about that. We need to keep Boston affordable, we need to prevent displacement, and we need to maintain the character and the history of our city and our neighborhoods. Because what makes us special is the uniqueness of our neighborhoods. And that's really what makes us special. So I'm proud of the work that's being done here in Mattapan and throughout the city of Boston. We're grateful to the commitment of partners like the cruise companies and all the other folks that made it here. The community, thank you very much, because you're the folks really that we do it for and we push for. So I want to thank you for that. These homes mean a lot to our community. These homes mean a lot to me, quite honestly, because I think it's important for us that we continue to make Boston a city for everybody. So, and not just for everyone today, a city for everyone for generations to come. Thank you very much, and again, congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and we'd like to give you a pair of ceremonial scissors and a pen as a token of our appreciation. The next speaker needs no introduction. As Edgar in our office says, he's my homeboy. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Chelsea. When I lived in Chelsea, it was a great place because it had diversity back in the, I don't want to say 60s because I don't want to date myself, but in the 70s it had diversity and people got along. But it had economic issues. And Jay Ash became the city manager and changed the dynamic of that city tremendously. There's hotels, there's real estate projects. I think there was 2 done in the 25 years that I did that. When he came in, they were doing 6 and 7 developments. So the governor saw this and knew he was a star and said, let me grab him. And so he came to work in the governor's cabinet. And he's been a tremendous resource. Anytime you call him, you call his office, he's there. He understands all the issues because he's a practitioner. He did it in the field. And so we're very proud to have him here, and we'd like to ask Jay to come up and say a few words and also give you ceremonial scissors and a pen.
Awesome. Danny, it's so nice of you to say that. It is true, housing is being built in Chelsea, hotels are being built in Chelsea, and the FBI regional headquarters just opened in Chelsea. Yeah. It wasn't always good news that the FBI was coming to Chelsea, but now we're very proud of it. So there are wonderful things happening in Chelsea, and that's a change in the time. John, you're an inspiration. Like you, I live my life by some slogans. One of them is when Danny calls, get him off the phone as quickly as you can. So you say yes, otherwise he'll ask you for a second or third project. And speaking of second and third projects, I also wear the hat as chairman of the Mass Development Board. And so just last week we got to vote on the next phase of Wayne, and that's a further commitment that we're making to this neighborhood, to this city, and to our entire state. The governor was here yesterday with the mayor and others celebrating a major announcement. We announced more than $100 million worth of awards to create almost 2,000 units of affordable housing around the state. To nobody's surprise, Mayor Walsh walked away with the biggest prize. Eight out of the 25 projects that we did are going to be done right here in Boston. There's two reasons for that. One is we're putting more money in from the state. The feds, not so much. We need more and more help, and the city of Boston is stepping up. Under Mayor Walsh's leadership, the city of Boston is not only stepping up to make sure that permitting works in the city to create housing, but the mayor is actually putting up dollars to make sure that housing can happen. And when we have a cooperative city government that is willing to put its own skin in the game, it makes us even more anxious to put our state dollars into work in places like Boston. So, Mayor, congratulations on your leadership, and it's a great partnership that we have with Sheila and John Barros and others, to Brian Golden, to make sure that we do everything we can to support your agenda and what is ultimately our agenda in Boston. The second reason is that here in Boston there are great developers that are working, and we don't have to go any further than Cruz. I am so impressed with the work that you do. I'm so pleased that you continue to invite me back for ribbon cutting after groundbreaking after ribbon cutting, because what you do is not only meeting a need, but it's sending a loud message to a community. And that community is, you can expect and you will get better. You are a top developer creating quality housing opportunities for people in this community, and as a result, you're not only doing well by yourself, but you're pushing other developers to do even better. So we're really pleased to be part of this. The governor sends his regrets that he couldn't be here, but asked me to communicate to everybody at Cruz that we're very proud of all that you do, and that we're looking forward to doing even more. Dan, that is not a commitment for more money, but it is implied. So it's a great pleasure to be with all of you. Congratulations on your latest accomplishment.
Thank you, Jay. Is Ayanna here? No? Well, we just want to acknowledge Councilor Ayanna Presley, who's always supportive of what we do and our desire to create economic development within the community. And what we didn't mention is when the mayor mentioned the Boston residents and the workers, which we're very proud of, is that 72% of all the contracts, electrical, plumbing, heating, went to local firms of color. And that to us is creating business, because businesses then reach out and employ other people. So out of that $33 million, once you back out the line items that aren't applicable, 72% of every dollar that got spent with firms of color. And we know the councilor supports that, and so we just want to give her a shout out and say thank you very much, Ayanna, for always being supportive and for a job well done. I don't think I saw Linda either. She's not here. Everybody's at lunch. That's okay. But again, Linda is a friend and has always been supportive, and again, she was the one, as we mentioned earlier, that introduced us to the mayor, and so we're grateful to her, and we also want to acknowledge her just for her support and her friendship and her ear. Anytime that we call, she's there to support us. So Linda, thank you very much. Okay. It looks like we're actually going to be on schedule, so I just want to, and it's always difficult to call people out because you're going to inevitably miss somebody. And so for those of you who I miss, I live in Roxbury, but I'm not telling you my address. But there are people you have to acknowledge, and Jay and the mayor said, but DHCD and their great staff, Kate Racer, Patrick Glennon, Sharon Riley, Rebecca Frawley, they were fantastic. So, and we want to give them a hand. Mass Development. We have Steve Chilton here. And Steve we deal with Tony Fracasso. And so every time and Tony's terrific and great, but he works for Steve. So we know we want to definitely butter that bread. So Steve, anything you need, you ask us. We got it. So thank you. And then the lenders, Eastern Bank, Cambridge Trust, RBC. I saw Tom Maxwell here. Tom, thank you very much. RBC put about $13.5 million into this deal. You're not going to get paid back under the terms we agreed to, but we'll talk about that at another time. This is a celebration. This is a celebration. But what I'd like to do is everyone who worked on this deal, just please raise their hand. Everyone who's worked on this deal. All right. Thank you. So again, we appreciate everyone here. Karen Kepler, lawyer extraordinaire. Every time she's on the phone call, I learn something, so thank you very much, Karen. Edgar, John says I make him look good. Edgar and Armin make me look good, so I appreciate it. So the last of the funders, I just want to acknowledge them, was Preservation Massachusetts. For those of you who don't know, Wayne at Columbia, 5 of the 7 buildings are historic. So we got to preserve them, which is a great thing. We work hand in hand with the city, who does the environmental review, the 106, and so it's a collective effort. And so we're so appreciative that we were able to do that. But again, restore these buildings to what we consider to be their original splendor. Too many times you go and people rehab buildings and you say, what were they thinking about? Well, in this particular case, we were able to bring these buildings back to what they originally looked like. And so we're very proud of that and thank everybody for their help. So with that, we're going to cut the ribbon. And we have food and drinks after that. And again, thank you to everyone. And let's eat.
I just want to say one important thing. While I was sitting there, I couldn't let the opportunity to go through without saying a little about the people that worked on here. You know, Cape Verde is an island, and I always jokingly say my cousins from the Caribbean islands, in Haiti, Jamaica, Montserrat, a lot of them are masons, and the masonry on this job was all done by someone, whether it's Francois, Haitian, by a person of color from the islands. And the plumbing, a lot of the plumbing on this job was done by my brothers from Ireland, Peter and David, who in the masonry, the drywall. And what I want people to realize is all of those, every single one, is an immigrant who came here. And Marty, we're making Boston great because of our immigrant population. Thank you.
Senator Dorsina Forey just walked in. I just wanted, you can ask, I said great things about you. I stretched it a little, but it was all good. So with no further ado, Senator Linda Dorsina Forey.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to be here. I will be extremely brief. I want to thank Mayor Walsh for being here, Secretary Jay Ash, but really want to thank Mr. John Cruz and Daniel Cruz, really, for the incredible work of the cruise companies over the last 60-plus years of really representing our communities. Making sure that folks in Roxbury, in Dorchester, and Mattapan have an incredible place they call home, right? That took a lot of work, but what you've been able to build, and as John talked about, you know, being a descendant of Cape Verdean, right? Folks from Cape Verde, you know, we know this is a country of immigrants. I'm first-generation American, and my parents are from Haiti, and our mayor is first-generation American, and his parents are from Ireland. So we know here in our great city that this is a place that allows everyone to thrive and to be able to build and support their families. But what the cruise companies have been able to do over the last decades, has been tremendous because they have hired folks from our community. So when we talk about economic empowerment and economic opportunity and development, you know, these are the folks that's been doing it from back in the day and continues to do it today. And that's what we've been doing in terms of as a legislative body, working with our Mayor, Secretary Ash, you know, the governor, and I know Councilor Ayanna Pressley was on her way here as well, but really to look about inclusion, intentional inclusion. How do we make sure when we're working on our policies and our legislations that we are making sure that there are opportunities for communities of color, that there are opportunities for businesses owned by people of color and women and veterans. Very, very important, and I just want to say, you know, we have leaders in our state, in our city, who understands that, but it starts with the cruises, really, the cruise companies who had the vision 60-some years ago to say, you know what, we're going to build. We're going to build not just for today, but for tomorrow. So I'm happy to be here, and I just want to thank you all for your leadership. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think Ayanna's here, so we should just move to cut the ribbon. And then Alec, okay, great. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you.